There's a famous quote from the investor Charlie Munger that goes, "Show me where I'm going to die so that I don't go there." And I think this quote applies to almost anything in life. If you know what to specifically avoid, you have so much more chances of actually achieving that what you want. And in this video, I want to go over like 4 main reasons why people that want to learn Russian are unable to actually become fluent in Russian, because these are the main mistakes that they made, the main causes of failure. So at the end of the video, if you know these 4 things, you can kind of sort of forget about all the other things that are related to learning Russian. Just avoid these 4 things, and in the end, you'll be, somewhat to very successful in learning Russian. Let's get started. Давайте начнем. So the first most important thing, if you ever want to become fluent in Russian, is that you cannot quit learning Russian. You simply have to continue. Every single day you need to learn a little bit of Russian. And you might think like, oh, that's quite obvious. And it is, because take for example, if you were to spend only 5 minutes per day learning Russian, and you would do that for 20 years, how good would your Russian be? Good, right? Just for 20 years, every single day, 5 minutes. So the thing is, it doesn't really matter how much you practice. The thing is that matters that you keep practicing. Now, of course, many people are going to spend more time per day. When you spend like 30 minutes to 60 minutes, it's going to take way less than 20 years. And even with 5 minutes, it can still be less before you speak at a good pace. But the thing is that you just cannot quit. And there's one specific moment when most people start quitting, and you need to catch yourself when you're saying this. So, okay, we said that you simply must practice every single day. What happens if you quit one day? That's okay. Everyone, stops for a day, or life happens, and it just happens that you cannot practice that day. But the thing then is, if you didn't practice for one day, the next day you must do everything you can to at least practice in some way. Because skipping 2 days in a row means that you are starting the new habit of not learning Russian. And 2 days become 3 days, 3 days become 4 days, 4 days become 5 days, becomes a week, becomes a month. And before you know it, it's been like several months since you've last practiced Russian. And then suddenly, like, you miss out on so much momentum that you would have gained if you would have just continued learning a little bit. And now it's so difficult to get back since I started forgetting stuff. So the main thing, whenever you skip one day, okay, it happens. I mean, no one's perfect. No one can practice every single day. But once you skip one day, make sure the next day after that, you do practice, because that will ensure that you will just keep on learning Russian for the long term. And at a certain point, you'll just look back, it's like, whoa, my Russian has become so good. So the second reason why people that want to learn Russian cannot learn Russian in the long term is because they do not make it fun to learn Russian. Because let's face it, like, there's no real need for you to learn Russian, most likely, unless you're a person that has moved to Russia, then you have to learn Russian. But for all other people, it's most likely just a hobby bordering on something that, well, is actually useful in your life. It's like a useful hobby, basically. So what happens if something is a hobby? It's not your job, it's not your family, friends, it's not your health. So there's no real need to actually prioritize this in life. So the only way you can get yourself to consistently learn Russian is by making it fun. And there are basically a couple ways to make it fun, but the best way that I personally like to make this fun is to just simply pick whatever you do, whatever you find fun as for media consumption in English or your native language, start doing that in Russian. So some examples of this are, if you really like to, on the weekends or at night, chill down with watching a movie or some TV series, start watching them in Russian. And maybe you cannot completely understand them if you just watch them with Russian voices and with Russian subtitles. No problem. Just watch them with English subtitles, so you still get the plot, but you still get, you still hear Russian, so your brain still subconsciously, gets a lot of input and understands better how to listen to Russian. Another example would be, if you like to play video games, why not play video games in Russian? If you like to read books, why not see if you can find some books in Russian? Again, if some books are too difficult for you, then, find like the adapted books that take like Russian literature, but then kind of rewrite it so that it's easier, or read dual language books, which still help a lot. If you like to read the news, then try reading the global news on a Russian website. I mean, the possibilities are endless. All you need to do is just pick something that you find fun and then start doing it in Russian. And another thing is to make sure that the real lessons that you're learning Russian are also fun. So make sure that your teacher, that you have a good click with them, or simply listen to a fun audio podcast. I can also highly recommend that. If you're looking for a fun way to improve your Russian in the next 30 days, check out my course, The Conversational Russian Blueprint, link in the description, which is a fun challenge to help you learn conversational Russian in the next 30 days. The third mistake that will keep you from fluently speaking Russian is that you do not practice speaking Russian enough. Now, the thing is, you want to learn Russian. Why do you want to learn Russian? Probably to communicate with Russian people, right? So the thing is that in order to do that, you need to practice speaking. And this is something, here's a specific concept that you need to understand very well. It's that learning Russian, most people think of learning Russian as just one single skill. It's just like, do you know Russian or not? But in reality, there's actually two skills here. There's the theoretical side of skills, like the theoretical skill side, and this includes vocabulary, grammar. Those are the main things that it includes. And then you get the practical side. And in order to speak Russian well, you need to practice both of them at the same time. Because if you only practice vocabulary and grammar and like your speaking skills just stay here, then at a certain point you'll figure out that, hey, I know all these Russian words, I know all this grammar, but whenever I try to have a conversation with someone, I still massively fail. And then you start getting anxious, like, why is this happening? I spent so much time and I still cannot practice. There's something wrong with me. I just cannot speak Russian. And the other thing is, like, for example, if you're only speaking Russian, but you don't practice Russian grammar and vocabulary, then, you know, you're going to speak like a child, basically. You need to, in order to speak Russian well, you need to practice them both at the same time. And this is also the fastest way to learn, actually, because the grammatical concepts and the words that you learn, you basically, every single day, you practice them while speaking, or, you know, a couple times per week. And this means that if you apply knowledge that you just learned, you will learn it so much faster because, for example, you don't understand the genitive case. If you just read about the genitive case, it will be super difficult to actually understand how the genitive case is. But if you also practice with someone and you try to say, for example, дом моего отца, like the house of my father, then you're like, oh, моего отца, oh yeah, that's of my father. So it's the genitive case. So then something that you just learned becomes applied and it makes it so much easier to remember. So don't forget to practice speaking enough while you're learning the theoretical side of learning Russian. And the fourth thing that keeps people that want to learn Russian from ever becoming fluent in Russian is that in reality, they did not really care about learning Russian in the first case. It was just a fleeting motivation. Maybe you watch some of my videos where I speak a lot of Russian and you're like, okay, well, that's cool. I also really wanted to learn Russian, but it was just fleeting motivation and you've started practicing for a couple of weeks and you're like, you know what, this might not be completely me. And I'm adding this here because this is completely fine. There are so many languages, there are so many skills that you can learn in this world that I think it's great that in order to figure out if learning Russian is something you're really interested in, to spend like, 30 days practicing. Install some free apps or, download a course, just practice something, start watching some Russian series. Just kind of figure out if, hey, do I really want to learn Russian? Because we as humans, we're so much like, we see something like, oh, I really want to, also do that, what this other person does. I also really want to learn Russian, play guitar, blah, blah, blah. And then, like so full of motivation, start doing all sorts of stuff, making big plans to becoming like fluent in Russian in the future. But then we spend a couple weeks doing that. We're like, I actually have better things to do in life. And then you just kind of stop. And this is completely fine. If this is you, then it's a great thing to at least have tried to see if you're really into this. Have like a date a little bit with the Russian language, so to put it, before you really decide to continue to actually learn Russian. Спасибо вам огромное за просмотр. Я желаю вам удачи с изучением русского языка. И до скорой встречи. Пока-пока.